Hello, good morning and welcome. This is Sunrise Daily. I'm Ayo Makinde.
Good morning, I'm Chamberlain Oso, and glad to have you join us again today. But you know, quite a number of things playing itself out. I mean, right from yesterday, first it was that of ASU, where, you know, there was that initial circular on the part of the government saying that the vice chancellors had been ordered by the NUC to get the schools back open, and then afterwards you still had another rebuttal wherein that circular was withdrawn, and then you wonder what's with all this confusion making the rounds. Can they get their acts together? How did that come up in the first place? And then you get to hear not long after that the national grid collapses yet again. And goodness me, I mean, that could only be the look. They need to level up with Nigerians and tell Nigerians what really the problem is, because you can't have it collapse once, two, three, four, time and again, consistently collapsing. It just suggests that there's a lot more going on there. And perhaps, I think this is when news hounds need to even just get there, speaking to ourselves and unearth what really is going on with all of that. Because, look, we've had up to here about all of this grid collapsing. There has to be a solution to some of these things, because different people, different scenarios. We all know how important it is that we address the power situation of the country. And then, as though that wasn't enough, in the streets of Abuja, the military veterans hitting the streets and protesting. And you thought, oh, goodness, why is this happening again? And they're not asking for anything extraordinary or anything out of the normal for their debarment allowances. And then they thought, I mean, what made it a lot worse was that difficult to comprehend. Well, they did say on that day that the president had approved the funds to be paid to them, but the Minister of Defense is the one they're accusing of being headstrong and unconcerned about their plight, which they just don't understand. How can that happen? How is it that the president could approve that funds to be paid, and then the minister, from what they say there, is saying otherwise? Because they also did indicate that they had meetings with the minister, and it's not just going right. Look, however they may have handled it out there, clearly you could see that it seems to be talking down at the veterans there, both the families, the wives, even those who have their husbands have died in the course of protecting the country against Boko Haram terrorists. They were also involved in all of this. I mean, this is a last kind of scenario you want, so let alone, because look, we had challenges with pensions in this country, and now this one, I just don't know how this kind of thing. It's sometimes you just wonder. It may appear as though, look, is there any big deal about these things in the first place? The payment has been approved, just go ahead and pay it. How is that rocket science? You know, guys, I just can't deal, really.
Well, Chamberlain, it would seem like we're, you know, speaking for ourselves. I wish we could really listen to one of the protesters and representatives of the people who said, look, it's not something that is new, you know. It's something that's been going on. The question you just want to ask, Chamberlain, is, if, as these veterans claim, one person, the minister, is being headstrong, the question that comes to mind is, to what end? Yes, I mean, we know that the federal government is cash-strapped as at this time, not being able to meet certain obligations. ASU is crying wolf, and so many other, you know, challenges, especially as concerning revenue, liquidity of funds, you know, on the part of the government is. But at the end of the day, this is something that shouldn't have happened. If we had a system that is automated enough to take care of things before they get worse. I mean, Chamberlain, one other example of us not doing things. In fact, the issues you have outlined this morning are issues around us not doing things as and when we should have. Power grid wouldn't be collapsing 8 times, according to one of the papers we'll be looking at, this morning, in this year alone, if the right things had been done at the right time. Refineries would be functioning without hitch or fail if proper things have been done by people employed by government to do those things as and when they ought to. The same thing for the disbarment allowance of these retired soldiers. There are some things that one expects should be automated. Now, mind you, why are the veterans really, surprised that this is happening at all? They have skills that they could use to make money. They can't use them simply because the law says they don't. Now, in order for the law to have some meaning to them, the disbarment allowance is supposed to compensate for the skills they should not use against the state. That's what the whole thing is about. That would be, what you would call the summary of it. We don't want you to take arms against the state, so we will pay you a significant allowance so you don't have to. Another thing that is disturbing this set of people is the old veterans are not being paid. The newer veterans are being paid. The newer retirees are being paid. And one is wondering exactly what is going on. Perhaps someone should really come out and explain. This is what is going on. Remember, Chamberlain, was it about 2 weeks ago, we had this conversation with this very coalition of concerned, veterans. And they're like, look, this ought not to go on. But it is something that is going on right in our faces. Look at them. Some of them had to come out with their widows, and children of some of the departed among them, just to underscore that we are having issues. Would someone please speak to these people? Would someone please speak to the issues? Doesn't our national anthem say the labors of our heroes past shall never be in vain? Right before their faces, look at their faces. Right before their faces, their labors are looking to be in vain. Is anyone listening to them? Chamberlain.
No, much as, yes, this is what's going on that happened yesterday, but we also need to backtrack and find out, look, excuse me, how have they been handling it before now? So why is this scenario, why did this happen? Have they been protesting before? What went wrong this time? Much as that's what they've said, but I can almost tell that in the days ahead, there will be, of course, a lot more reaction concerning what is the other side saying about all of these. But in the meantime, of course, we did catch up with those who are protesting. And let's take a listen to some of what was said at the time.
The two issues that were burning then was the outstanding arrears of 24 months minimum wage increase and the security department allowance. Now, they met together. They put the minimum wage in tranches of peanuts. We didn't say anything. They are still paying it in tranches. Now, the security department allowance, unfortunately for us, we saw that they started to even pay soldiers and officers that were just leaving. Then the backlog of the veterans that they have not paid, the SDA for clarity, is the security department allowance that is paid to retired personnel to debar them from using their skills against the state. So if I'm a sniper, I'm a bomb expert, whatever you are, you can't use it against the state. And that kind of strategic influence, financial influence, was withheld by this government. If Nigerian government has empathy, they should know that there are sensitive offices that you don't put somebody that is stone dead to the feelings of others. The office of the Honorable Minister of Defense, if the president knows what he's doing right now, he's supposed to vacate that office and put someone there that has empathy.
So there you go. We'll hope to follow up on that much later and get you some updates as we get them. All right, so that said, let's proceed and take you through some of the dailies here today. And we're going to start with The Guardian newspaper. And look at how they lead here. INEC unveils ground rules for hitch-free issues-based campaigns, warns governors against denying opposition parties access to public facilities. NBC Parley's broadcast stations urges equal access for parties' candidates. Afenifere, Igbos brutally marginalized. It's their turn for presidency. You're speaking for yourself, not Yoruba people. Group tackles Afenifere over endorsement of Obi inauguration of APC campaign council. Down enter. Then this next one says, inauguration of APC campaign council on hold over inclusion of governor's list. Presidency declares vote of confidence on Keyamo. Atiku appoints Secondus, Saraki, Anyim, others as special campaign advisors. So there you go. That is the big one right here. So they're looking forward to that day and day. So yeah, that is what you see. And then this at the bottom strip, FG makes U-turn, withdraws order to reopen varsities. So we're still looking to hear from the president then. Remember that meeting with the vice chancellors where he says, well, they may have a second look at their stance and come up with a position to see what to do moving forward. Then still speaking about INEC, this one is above this lead story. No going back on BVAS e-transmission of results. INEC insists, so perhaps in spite of all the battles probably going on in court and all the protestations, as it were, this is the latest position from INEC. And that is it with The Guardian here today.
The Leadership newspaper is speaking in the same vein this morning. Another transition begins tomorrow as INEC lifts ban on campaigns, a story you'll find on page 4 of the paper this morning, and has a host of riders. Electoral body, NBC, declare hate speech, abusive slogans, no-go areas. APC launches electioneering with prayers, peace walk Wednesday. Atiku names Saraki Anyim Oyinlola Secondus special envoy, special and technical advisors. Tinubu, Shetima, Wike, Autumn, others in London. Kachiku asks Nigerians to reject bigger parties. Obi visits Obasanjo, IBB, Salami, Emir of Kano. All of that packed on page 4 of the paper this morning. And should we say the dice costs? It's about 24 hours, less than 24 hours actually before the campaigns fully begin, but hey, that's what you have right there. Right under the nameplate, National Grid begins recovery after 7th collapse in 9 months. That story continues on page 7. Find the details, if you will, right there. And right under that one, ASU strike in dramatic voter farce. FG withdraws order on varsities reopening. The story is on page 7. Find the details of that on the inside pages this morning. Chamberlain?
Yeah, and then on to Vanguard newspaper next. It's still on 2023. Consider age, mental, physical fitness of candidates. Northern elders, Catholics tell voters. Our preferred presidential candidate must have mental, physical capacity, say Northern elders. Add, they won't repeat 2015 mistake. Catholic laity asks Nigerians to consider age, health of candidates before voting. Yeah, that's what you see. Oh yeah, and then you get to see this image as well. Akwa Ibom Commission's road projects. You can see aerial view of sections of the dualized 29-kilometer Etinan Undon Road with 2 bridges and spurs from Mbiolekpan and turn into Ikorakpan in Akwa Ibom State. So the picture as a paper so captions that one here today. You also see that story about ex-servicemen. Yes, it makes the front pages here as well today. But you have several others, I might add. But look at this, 2023. Guard your utterances. FG, Sultan, Khan, Sanwo-Olu tell Nigerians. So I think it works both ways. So while they tell Nigerians, well, politicians and their handlers, handlers, media handlers, all of them should equally get the same memo, such that they also know how. I mean, they're the ones who will be in the front lines, image makers of those parties. So it might not be a bad idea for them to also get that memo. So taking a look at what's on the back page as well as Vanguard Sports. Algeria versus Nigeria. Uzoho displaces Okoye in goal as Pesero insists on victory for Eagles. Oh, you better. And then among several other stories. But that is Vanguard here today.
Well, talking about memos, I don't know if this sounds like one of them on the front page of Daily Trust newspaper this morning, whether or not the memos went around enough. Look at it. Disquiet in APC over composition of campaign team. Osinbajo Amechi's silence raises dust. Tinubu begins campaign with prayer session. Council fails to issue letters to nominees. We're open to working with all. That's ascribed to spokesman. The story, you'll find the details of it on page 4 of the paper this morning. And those pictures on the front page, gosh. Well, the caption under the pictures tell it all. Flood cuts off Lokoja Highway, submerges houses, worship centers. We knew this was going to happen when that announcement was made by the Meteorological Agency that we're going to have more than half the number of days in this year for rains, more than 200 days, they said. So we saw this coming. What are we doing? FG backtracks, withdraws order to reopen universities. Find the details on the inside pages. INEC warns parties candidates against hate speech. That's also there. And then right under at the bottom of the page, one of the 3 stories you'll find there is the issue we mentioned earlier. Unpaid allowances. Ex-servicemen take protest to defense headquarters. I'm wondering, when they were there and those who were in service were inside the headquarters, how did they feel? I just wonder. That's the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
I'll take a look at New Telegraph here today. 2023 campaign. Atiku hits Wike, appoints Secondus advisor. Saraki, Anyim, Shekarau, Onyelola also make the list. He understands Nigeria best, says Ologbondiyan. I have no hand in IU's travails. This one is ascribed to Autumn, so that you see right there. But above this lead story, don't forget that FG's domestic debt stock rises 18.8% to 3.32 trillion naira in 1 year. They're quick to remind us of that one. So, and then back to politics, which is at the bottom right there. 2023 polls. INEC bans religious ethnic campaigns. Okay, you need to read through that and see what that means exactly. Reads Ryan Act to parties, candidates. OPS expresses mixed feelings over impact on economy. Says process will slow growth. So, I mean, this is the thing. The way elections go in this country, when that is happening, all of that shutting down of movement, nothing happens. When the election is gone, the economy actually grinds to a halt in spite of the challenges. Whereas we see all the African countries, it's no big deal when they go about their elections. Business is going as usual. You know, it's not like the mainstay. So that speaks to a lot in terms of our mindset, our perspective on how we handle things. So if other African countries right here, not even looking further than our shores, continent here, are handling it a lot better, because economy is the most important aspect of lots of people's survival, I reckon. So why can't we do the same thing here? This do or die mentality has got to change, really. And then you see just beside that one as well, ASU strike, NUC withdraws circular, directing VCs to reopen schools, barely 24 hours after issuance, ASU had insisted no force on the earth could take it back to classrooms. So that is it with that one. And I'm still talking about the campaigns, really. You know, while we have all sorts of data processes, your requirements to get one or two things. In fact, you remember when they said students couldn't take the exams until you have the name or linked with your SIM and the rest of them. And then the big question is, so if all of that was mandatory to everything or most things these days, then if you have it, then you have every other thing. So why can't we then insist, if you don't have all of that, you shouldn't be able to vote? What's wrong with that? So, after all, we spent a lot of money getting all of that one. So, yeah, it'll help us identify who's voting where. So if you have all that details, you can't have John Doe's name appearing on the list or someone who died 10 years ago appearing on the list. All of that might have just been put to bed if you have all that details. So, 2 cents. That's New Telegraph today.
Well, for that to happen, Chamberlain, are you calling for another review of the laws or a public presentation or display of the voter register, if you will? Well, I guess INEC also listened to you. The Daily Times newspaper this morning, 2023 presidency. Why Afenifere picked Obi, that's ascribed to Adebanjo, says to keep Nigeria one, everyone should be Obi Dati compliant. That's the lead of the paper this morning. And then speaking to the economy that you talked about earlier, Chamberlain, right under the nameplate of the Daily Times newspaper, Nigeria's economic outlook uncertain, says World Bank. Find the details of that on page 5 of the paper this morning. And right under the picture on the front page, Osinbajo seeks sustained momentum built on MSMEs. That story is on page 3. Of course, all over the world, everyone believes that MSMEs employ the largest number of people in any economy. So perhaps that's well advised. I guess we'll wait for how that will be put into action. Right above the nameplate, strike. Confusion as FG orders VCs to reopen varsities, makes U-turn. Okay, to be or not to be. The story continues on the inside pages of the Daily Times newspaper this morning. Chamberlain?
Well, yeah, you know, I was speaking about which, it's not about what the authorities want or whether they like it or whether it should be or should hold sway. It's about what the people of the country want. It is the people of the country who maintain those offices. It is from the purse of the people of the country that those offices are funded. INEC or public officials or government or presidents or governors, they don't go to those offices with their pocket money. It is the public's funds. And so whatever the public wants should hold sway. That's the way it works. So if they need to amend the laws, so be it, because the laws, the people are not made for the laws. The laws are there to ensure that things work, and that's why the amendments happen time and again. So it's not cast in stone. So they shouldn't let us believe that, no, this is sacred. There is no such thing. It's what the people want that should happen. However, the people want, I think I might just add that a little bit. Well, that said, take a look at This Nigeria this morning. National grid collapses 8th time in 2022. So, there you go. Abuja, Lagos, 5 southeast states thrown into darkness. And, yeah, of course, you know how this will hit the economy. ASU strike, FG makes U-turn. And then you see withdrawals order directing VCs to reopen public universities. Yeah, that's what you see these days. And after all, that's why some of the countries have what they call referendum. In some of the countries, you've seen it in Argentina, you've seen different countries. It's about what is it that the people want, because that is the ultimate. It's a global village now, so no one should just copy what examples they think suits them when they want and then leave out the other ones which everybody else also sees. Times have changed. Well, that's This Nigeria this morning.
Nigerian News Direct this morning is also looking in the same direction, howbeit a little more focused on the essence. 8th grid collapse, Manufacturers, business, energy users face hard times over nationwide blackout. The details are on page 2. Unreliable power supply, threats to industrialization, as ascribed to Nasima. Discontinue national grid to end incessant collapse, say experts, as TCN commences partial restoration of power. Hey, how about we also ensure that maybe the states, and I hope that that's already begun, because we remember that Lagos wanted to do that years back and it was not agreed with. Let the states take control of their own power supply for their people, for their indigents, for their residents and all of that. Maybe that way we'll get rid of this national centralization. Well, whether or not that makes sense, I guess we'll wait for the experts to speak to it. And right under that picture, FG handicapped over ASU strike, backs off on resumption order to open varsities. To reopen varsities, that story is also right there on the front page of the paper. And so many other stories that I would allow you to pick yourself. Oh, just this one then. Nigeria's infrastructure development requires $35 billion annually to sustain growth. That's ascribed to the federal government. That's the Nigerian News Direct.
Well, have you guys ever wondered, you know, the Northern governors did some time ago also got on the same page with their Southern counterparts about state policing. But have you ever wondered, so why is the National Assembly not taking that on? Why is it not on the front burner in the National Assembly then, since all governors at least appear to be on the same page now? These guys are smart, aren't they? Well, take a look at Daily Independent. That's the next one here today. Confusion as FG retracts order asking VCs to reopen varsities. So that is a big one here. Banner headline, as a matter of fact. No writing. Okay, just that lead story. So, yeah. And then you see this at the bottom strip as well. Disquiet in PDP over Atiku's choice of campaign spokespersons. So, at a point, you know, we had read the Guardian in one of the riders there, just talking about inauguration of APC campaign council on hold over inclusion of governors list, and now you see disquiet in PDP over Atiku's choice of campaign spokespersons. So they both have their fair share of disagreements, don't they? So there you go. That is Daily Independent this morning, I might add, and that ends it with a look at some of the front pages here today. And you know, as always, we welcome your at least suggestions or your comments here on the program. But give us a moment, because we will be back.
The Igbo people of the Southeast have never tasted presidency in Nigeria, and now the power is due back in the South. Equity demands that it be ceded to the Igbo. We cannot continue to demand that the Igbo people remain in Nigeria while we at the same time continue to brutally marginalize and exclude them from the power dynamic. Peter Obi is the person of Igbo extraction that the Afenifere has decided to support and to back. He is the man we trust to restructure the country back to federalism on the assumption of office. We will not compromise this principle of justice, equity, and inclusiveness because one of our own, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, is a front-line candidate. It is on this principle we condemn the PDP for sponsoring Atiku Abubakar, a northern Fulani Muslim, to succeed General Muhammad Buhari, another Fulani Muslim. We enjoyed the labor movement, students, youth organizations, women associations, and every institution whose foundation is built on fairness and justice to join hands in this task of enthroning a democratic government by supporting Peter Obi. If we are sincere and honest about keeping Nigeria together in peace, the slogan henceforth should be to keep Nigeria one, everybody should be obligatory compliant.
Thank you for staying with us. Well, to have a conversation around that, which you have just seen and heard, we have Boyega Adejumo with us. He is an Afenifere chieftain and a member of the National Caucus and Exco of Afenifere. Thanks for joining us this morning, sir.
It's good to be back here again.
Tell us about that press conference. What informed that decision?
We had this World Press Conference yesterday. And looking at the whole idea of having to go to the press and inform the world of our decision is just in the culture of Afenifere to articulate its views and to put across the prescient issues that Afenifere have always stood for in all of our 71 years. What happened yesterday was just putting together all that Afenifere since inception has always stood for, which is true federalism, which is true representation, which is about equity, which is about standing on the high moral ground, which is about making the unity of this country the paramount thing that should be of concern to everyone. And if we are going to have to live in harmony, in unity, then there will have to be a balancing of the ethnicities and in giving opportunity and liberty to every citizen. Tracing our trajectory, right from 1946, when we had the Richardson Constitution, the Macpherson Constitution, to the Littleton Constitution of 1954. The other constitutions have been unitary. We fought for, at the London Conference, a situation where the multi-ethnicity, the way we are put together, different religion, different ethnicity, different languages, will only make a whole lot of meaning if all the component parts feel comfortable, that we have confidence in the system, that we have a constitution that caters for all of us. And the only way we can do that is to have a federal system. One of our revered leaders, one of the founding fathers, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, came back from that conference. If you have your archives here, you can check. On the front page of the newspapers coming from London, he said it is federalism for Nigeria and nothing else will matter. And anytime we deviate from that, and anytime we take ourselves away from that and pursue other things, that is when trouble occurs. We must make sure that for the continued existence of this corporate Nigeria, everyone must have a sense of belonging, Nobody should have a sense of entitlement. And when it has to come to power, every bloc must be given the opportunity to be able to present a candidate that will unify, that will signify, and that will have to conform with the essence of federalism. That is what we did yesterday.
But, you know, there are those who wonder why has it taken Afenifere this long, given that over the past, is it for 8 years or 7 years now, the power structure in the country has been as it is. The president is Northerner, the vice president is Yoruba, the Senate president is from the north, the deputy Senate president is from South-South, the Speaker of the House is Yoruba, and the deputy speaker is from the northern extraction. None of them is really from the southeast, as you put it.
You have
so
said it all.
Wonder, and I'm just asking, why has it taken this long for this agitation, so to speak, by Afenifere? Why not before?
The truth of the matter is that Afenifere has always said everything that you have just said, but perhaps in different forms and languages wherever it will occur for us to say so. We never shied away from it. Even when President Obasanjo was in power, we still demanded for equity. We still demanded for what the 19th Constitution lacked. We didn't say it was, oh, the Yoruba's turn and then we'll keep quiet. We forced President Obasanjo to embark upon this exercise of looking at the Constitution and working on the Constitution and making it truly federal. If not for the third-term agenda, President Obasanjo was right on his way. And if you look at the history of how it all happened, right back to the Okuta panel, Papa Adebanjo said to the whole world, if this 1999 Constitution is to subsist, then we cannot guarantee the continued existence of Nigeria. That prompted the Obasanjo administration to do that. And again in 2014, we were behind the idea of the confab. And what will be the idea of the confab? Balancing, equity, making sure that every opportunity abounds to the federating units to be able to present the best they have in offices. That is exactly what the confab was about. So we've always spoken. We've always spoken, and we will continue to speak for as long as we remain Afenifere. Make no mistake, we have a very strong foundation. If you build something on nothing, it is not going to work. But ours is built on the solid structure of Papa Obafemi Awolowo and the founding fathers, which included Papa Ayo Adebanjo, having looked at the whole situation as it occurred as at that time, and coming to even putting together when there was no Google. Papa Awolowo wrote about 16 books. Go and check all of that which Afenifere holds as ideal. The ethics of having to play politics, the ethoses of the Omoluabi that is incorporated in the Afenifere. And in all those books, what you will find will be equity. Papa Awolowo actually predicted the emergence of an Ijaw president. How could Afenifere have been anything different from the trajectory that have become part of us, embedded in our soul, that you have seen yesterday?
Okay, but then you also know, of course, that there's been some reaction, some backlash, if I can use the word, to that decision yesterday. One of it is by the Olusi-led Afenifere in an interview that said, look, that the leadership, you know, that made that declaration yesterday has hijacked, personalized, and privatized the Afenifere name. That's the Olusi-led faction of Afenifere. Well, Olusi-led Afenifere, that's what
I wouldn't know about that.
Okay.
What we know is that there's only one Afenifere. Okay. We've had Afenifere, Papa Awolowo as leader, Papa Ajasin who took over, Papa Adesanya, Papa Fashionati, now Papa Adebanjo. I wouldn't know of any other Afenifere.
Okay. But is that to say that you are not aware that there are objections in some quarters?
There will always be objections.
Okay.
Why would there not be objections? People have all manners of what you might call influences. You can't take that away from the polity. But again, if anyone is after liberty, But then in your pursuit of liberty, you go after self-aggrandizement. Then you deserve neither. If you are going to look at the present political situation, in every aspect of our lives, what do we have? We have brokenness. We have brokenness in economy. We have brokenness in the polity. We have brokenness in the politics. We have brokenness that has resulted into terror. And why would we have all of this? The lure of the looker. People are pursuing other interests, different from the interests of serving and making sure that we have a successful nation.
How do you convince anyone that there isn't any interest, so to speak, for the Afenifere that you are speaking for even now? Because at the end of the day, it's always about interests. That's what they say.
It is self-evident what we are doing. If you want to be about those who think it's about ethnicity, then of course we are not going to be true to self. We're not going to be different from those who want to perpetuate themselves in power. Then we are going to be no different from those who have a sense of entitlement that we are saying it is wrong. We're talking of federal character. So it is self-evident that the only interest we have is to serve the common man, is to bring unity. Otherwise, then we'll make it a Yoruba thing. There are at least three Yoruba presidential candidates. The SDP has Mr. Adebayo Adewale, who happened to have been the very first secretary of the OPC. And of course, everybody knows the relationship between the OPC and the Afenifere. But it is not about ethnicity. It's not about where we come from. It's not about presenting a Yoruba, because that would not be fair. In 1999, we had President Obasanjo of the Yoruba. 8 years of him. We had 3 years of Yaradua. Thereafter, we had 5 years of the South-South. Then it went back to the north again, 8 years of Buhari. In between that, we have 8 years of a Yoruba vice presidency, and then you expect Afenifere. With all that we have gone through, with everything that we have said that have come true, it is only when people do not listen to us. And I want you to go back in history. It is only when people don't listen to us, it is when people deviate from the norm that the founding fathers put together in making sure that what is entrenched is the true federalism, that Nigeria goes astray, that things go bad. We've always maintained that posture of standing on that high moral ground, and we won't ever shift. It is when we tell Nigerians, please observe this. Other countries will be so proud of their founding fathers. They will stick to the tenets that have put them together. It's only here that people jettison such. But we keep reminding them, this is the basis upon our coming together. Anytime we move away from it, that is when we have trouble. So how can it be self-serving? We are not serving anyone. We are only serving this nation. If we want to have something to accrue to ourselves, then of course let a Yoruba man be there. And then of course he's either going to be my brother, my friend, or somebody we grew up together, and all of that put together. But that is not going to serve anyone. That will be service to self. Afenifere is about service to others.
There is also the word out there that, you know, there was no meeting, there was no place where Afenifere sat down to make this decision. There was just one person who made the decision on behalf of everybody and called a press conference.
Why should I answer that question?
Well,
I'm thinking, is somebody part of us who is saying that, or somebody who is on the outside? Are you in the same organization with me? The same Afenifere, where yesterday, the deputy leader of Afenifere, Kabiyesi Oba Oladipo Olaitan, who has spent no less than 50 years in Afenifere, was sitting next to the leader? Was it about an Afenifere that is not in full unison? And you had the Secretary General of Afenifere, Chief Shola Ibisheni, sitting by the left-hand side of Pa Ayo Adebanjo? Or are we talking about Chief Shukwo Shonibare, who, of course, is the treasurer for Afenifere. Everybody knows Chief Boshunubari. Everybody knows his father. His father was one of the founding fathers of the Afenifere. Or are you talking about those who sat at the feet of Papa Awolowo, Dr. Ebushonaya, Engineer Bayo Adeneko, who were all there with the leader yesterday? So why would I want to demean Afenifere or demean myself by succumbing to such a very derisory, very laughable question?
Well, there is also there's this partnership that's been on with between Afenifere and other socio-cultural and socio-political groups all across the nation. The South and Middle Belt Leaders Forum, the Ohaneze, and the rest of them. Is there such partnership on this particular decision of Afenifere? For instance, is Ohaneze on the same page with you? Is the SMBLF leadership also on the same page with you?
I'm happy you asked that question. You see, people's optics and intellect should be open to what is going on around them. At times, we look at things and we don't see. There's nothing we do that is not in the open. In 1964, before even Papa Awolowo went to jail in 1963, there had been an accord between the action group and the NCNC of Okpara. The letter Papa Awolowo wrote to Ironsi about his wrongful incarceration had it all there, where he was being told that renounce your alliance with the NCNC and then you won't go to jail. We had DM Okpara campaigning in Yoruba land in 1964. We had Papa Awolowo picking Philip Umiadi as his vice presidential candidate in 1979. We had Mama Udinamadu, who was the first vice president of the UPN. One of the spokespersons of the UPN in those days was an Igbo man. We had MCK Ajuluchukwu, who was the secretary of Afenifere. So why would people not look at all of this and see a trajectory, a normal, logical, sequential progression of the Afenifere with the Igbo? It's always been there. But let me tell you a story. In 2015, going towards 2015, Afenifere came out and said, do not vote for Buhari. Again, like I said, it is when they don't listen to us that people go astray. And we had our reasons, knowing fully well that nothing positive was going to happen with Buhari. In 2016, Papa Adebanjo formed what we call the Yoruba Summit Group. About 42 Yoruba groups came together. And the idea was, it's only going to be about restructuring that could save this country. And we had that rally in 2017 at Adamasingba, in Ibadan. We had a governor, Ayodele Fayoshe, then all the other governors sent their representatives, including the vice president who sent Ojudu to that gathering. It was even an APC man, Niyi Akintola San, who moved that motion at that Ibadan declaration that the only thing the Yoruba would demand, the minimal, irreducible element that we will hold on to continue to be part of this union, is to have restructuring. Now, at that meeting, Afenifere invited the Ohaneze under the leadership of Chief Nyanwodo. They came, they not only came, they came with their cultural troops to entertain us at Adamasingba. So the Igbo came, they felicitated with us on that day. The Pandef came and felicitated with us on that day. They addressed the gathering. Chief Nyanwodo did. Leaders of the South did. Leaders of the Middle Belt did. 2017. And that was the beginning of what we call the SMBLF. So why would people not see all of this? Or did they think that we were joking? Now, we couldn't have been joking, and I'll tell you why. Everywhere you go, the news is bad. The news feed is talking about Yahoo Yahoo. The news feed is talking about rituals. The news feed is talking about graduates who cannot get jobs. The society is broken. And we are leaders. We cannot continue to allow what, of course, will be the inevitable if we do not stem the tide of destruction. So we formed the SMBLF to be able to take care of the future of our children. And in everything that we have done in 5 years of SMBLF, maybe you are seeing the culmination of it now. Because every month we meet and we deliberate and we take decisions. And these are decisions that are devoid of self. These are decisions to take our people out of whatever has become the very bad state in which we found ourselves, in economy, in education, in everything that is going wrong.
The question I asked you, sir, is, are they on the same page with you on this decision? Because I would have expected, if that were the case, maybe you would have invited some of them to...
Oh, of course they are with us. Before our own declaration, before our own conference of yesterday, press conference of yesterday, Dr. Pogu of the Middle Belt had come out to say that the Middle Belt is supporting Obi. And when I hear people talk about, oh, Ohaneze has not endorsed Obi, I find that very laughable. You know why? Does a father adopt his own biological son? Does a father adopt his own biological son?
Does a father then
somebody else that will come and adopt your son if he wants to?
On that, does a father then deny his own biological son?
Ohaneze has not denied Obi.
No, I'm not saying that, because I remember when before, or was it during the Obasanjo, era at the time, Afenifere wasn't particularly fully in support of an Obasanjo presidency at the time.
It's only going to be about principles. It's only going to be about...
So there could be a time when...
There was a time we had a sort of understanding with President Obasanjo, even inside and outside of government. You might even see our leaders with Obasanjo at some point. It happened. I was there when former President Obasanjo came to Akure to see Passionati. I was there when he came to see Pa Adebanjo in Lekki. So there will always be areas where, when these ideals, principles that we hold there, when it becomes universally acceptable to everyone.
What was the point of difference between the President Obasanjo while in office and Afenifere at the time?
Oh, very good question, and I thank you for that. All we wanted was true federalism. All we wanted was for the country to be restructured. And it didn't matter who was president. As at that time, all we needed, right from the trauma of June 12, was to have confidence put back into the nation, because certain parts were traumatized, certain people were trampled upon, values actually were trampled upon, and we wanted our people to live in dignity. All we wanted was a constitution that was our own. We were not actually part of this 1999 constitution. In fact, President Obasanjo himself did not see that constitution until the day he was sworn in. And all we wanted, as at that time, was to have a rethink about that constitution. We had predicted, like I said, that nothing good was ever going to come out of that constitution. So we remained in engagement, wanting that constitution to be changed, or to have a broad situation in which all the nationalities will sit down together and be able to form a constitution of our own, something close to what happened in 2014. So we had that engagement with President Obasanjo. We had it with President Jonathan as well.
Okay. So now that this is where we are, this is where we have found ourselves now, there are those who have also asked the question, wait a minute, campaigns don't start until 28th. This press conference is a campaign. What do you say to them?
Campaigns will still start in 24 hours.
Yes.
So?
But it would seem like the press conference was before the campaign really started and was frontally saying everyone should vote for a particular person.
That is the right thing to do. Are we going to wait until the campaign starts? We've done our homework.
But shouldn't we wait really until the campaign
We just
starts?
did not just come to a sudden decision. It was a process. We had done all that we needed to do, right in the glare of everyone. The SMBLF invited Peter Obi to Ayo Adebanjo's house. All the leaders of the SMBLF were there. And at various levels of interaction, we had met with this candidate, and we've been able to interrogate this candidate. We've been able to come to certain conclusions. First, it's more about equity. It is the idea of making sure that no part of this union is left behind. And then we now found in this particular candidate the attributes that we will see in what we want to see in Nigeria going forward. Restructuring, equity, a stem in the wastage in government. We have all manners of issues. How do we survive a situation where what we earn is not even enough to pay our debts? Has anybody looked at the wastage in government? Who is talking about the wastage in government? Who is talking about stemming it? Peter Obi. Has any of the other candidates campaigned against corruption?
Campaign against?
Against corruption. Any of the other candidates? Have you heard them say even one word about corruption? Peter Obi has been the one that is consistent in all of these things that we believe are germane to making sure that we have something that we can hold on to as hope for the future. We have the Oresai report, for example, that said that we do not need 44 ministries, that said we do not need 400 parastatals. Has any of the other candidates said anything about that? In which case, we are talking about having to spend so much more than what we earn. So why are we not looking at what is going on presently, how government is constituted, what is making up for the wastages? This is the only candidate that is talking about it. So why would it not catch our attention?
Perhaps it's because perhaps others are not talking about it yet because campaigns haven't fully started. And for all that it's worth, you also remember that not too long ago, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party also came up with a blueprint and mentioned some of the issues that you have raised. So
we have a situation in this country. We have a situation that is almost ludicrous, melancholic. People were even talking in 2015 that a candidate didn't even have to bring out a certificate. A NEPA bill would be enough. People did not interrogate anything. People simply believed whatever they were being told. And we ran into all of that, which has plunged the Naira from 197 to 715. We've gone through diesel from 120 Naira per liter to almost 1,000 Naira per liter, based on the fact that we did not do the right thing. Now, again, people are saying, oh, we still have time to ask, to interrogate. Where is the time? Is it when they are on the campaign field, going from place to place, that you're going to have the time to look at what each person is bringing to the table? Now they've gone around the country doing their own primaries. What are they telling people? They've had interviews here and there. We've seen gaffes. The social media feed is full of gaffes. People making certain statements of employing 50 million youths, which is, well, you know what it is. We have all the evidences right in front of us. Are we going to simply ignore them like we ignored them in 2015?
Okay, that's a very good question and a good place for us to take it off when we return from this break. So please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Let's go to Abuja now. Chamberlain has some questions. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, Oladotun Hassan joins me here. He's the president of Yoruba Council worldwide. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today's program.
It's a pleasure to be on the program.
Well, yeah, you heard Afenifere's perspective on the matter. They think based on equity, fairness, and justice, they feel that their endorsement or their support for the candidate, the presidential candidate of Labour Party, is in order. What does your group think about that?
Well, we must acknowledge the fact that every individual has their personal right to support whoever they believe. It's a fundamental right. But it will be, it will amount to ultra-virus conduct and illicit mode of campaign when you are at the expense of you supporting your candidate. It is laced with hatred, bedeviled with penchant comments against the candidate of another party. Yes, Afenifere has the right to support. It's an
against candidate of another party?
Yeah.
Which party? Well,
that is Asiwaju is their albatross. That has been the campaign they are really after against. So it's not that maybe their support for Obi or for Peter Obi is at the instance of their hatred against Asiwaju. And to that effect, what is their modus operandi? What is their philosophy? We are all disciples of Awolowo. We all believe in the philosophy. If Awolowo were to be alive today, this is a repetition of what happened between Awolowo and Akintola while he was contesting, because somebody from within would definitely rise up against the same man that is coming from within, from the southwest.
Now, we may have to play that piece again
Yes.
of Adebanjo, because you say it's laced with hatred and bedeviled with all sorts. But
Definitely.
Did you actually listen to it? What part of his speech was laced with hatred or anything?
Well, you know, when a campaign, you know, Asiwaju is a nationalist, is a national figure. And we are in a...
So you think it was only Asiwaju he mentioned in that speech?
You know, no. He mentioned the article, they betrayed it, but last election, this same Afenifere supported PDP and Atiku. Definitely there must be what is the driving force of Afenifere. If they are truly, where we respect the octogenarian age and philosophy and drive, but the reality on ground now, for the support Asiwaju has received from the north, from the east, from the south, from within even Yoruba land, as at date, it shouldn't be that model of campaign. Yes, they can go all out to campaign for Peter Obi, but at the expense of mentioning that Asiwaju is coming to consolidate on Buhari's something, and all, it's more or less...
You started out saying they're entitled to their views.
Definitely.
But now you say it's going to be ultra-virus,
yes,
laced with hatred. Just a minute. And then you say last time they supported Atiku.
Definitely.
But this time, they also did, they say that, well, for peace and equity, the Labour Party candidate. So Atiku is still contesting. If they supported him at the time, why are they not supporting him now? Because going by what you say, naturally they should be supporting him now, if what you say was true.
To me, it means that there is no consistency in your belief system.
Doesn't mean that they're standing by their principles?
No. That's not principle. That is just pension. Because if you've been following Baba Adebanjo's approach in campaigning, is a campaign of calumny against Asiwaju. It is not because of his aspiration now. He has always been on that hill. At any given instance, Asiwaju will always come to the front. There has been issues that have been dragged, either being given house, being given denial and all that. We are not coming into all that. It is insignificant to discuss that on here. But what concerns us is that, yes, they are on their own premise arrive at the Peter Obi's endorsement. Yes, as Afenifere, as a group, an association of people who have their interests. As the president of Yoruba Council of Youth Worldwide, we believe in Asiwaju. We endorse Asiwaju. We are giving Asiwaju continuous support because we believe...
So nobody has kicked against your supporting Asiwaju. So why should this be any different if they choose support who they want to?
No, we are no longer now bringing Peter Obi into our discourse whenever whatever we are doing. But for them, for the fact that you have endorsed your candidate, you don't need to shift your house into another person's abode in order to make a statement. They have just infringed.
How have they done that?
By coming towards the effect of making Asiwaju, trying to call a dog a bad name by all standard. And to us, it is one of the cardinal objectives INEC itself is, had a summit on yesterday on the approach of campaigns. This kind of campaign is capable of inciting ethnic violence against, maybe between Igbo, Yoruba.
Did INEC say that groups cannot support
Definitely,
whichever
no,
candidate
they did not
want?
say that. But once it is now being conflicted with this kind of approach, you have a right to support your candidate. We have not come to the fore.
What approach exactly is this?
Yes, definitely. We watched with keen interest their endorsement of Peter Obi. Yes, they premise it on the fact that the Southeast have not had fair share of this country, and it would be negation of the democratic ethos that we have as a date, because we've had leaders from the southeastern part that are serving and are still serving this country. Nobody would have said that the Southeast have not.
Is what they said wrong? That
it's absolutely wrong.
Has not been president of this country.
It's absolutely wrong. It negates good conscience, equity.
So has the Southeasterner been president of this country if he says wrong?
Well, definitely from the Azikwe, even Jonathan claimed from the Southwest. Everybody, when they are coming,
Jonathan was not from the Southeast.
No, it's not from the Southeast. But at the expo, when he was contesting, the same Southeast rallied around and claimed it to be Azikwe. Jonathan Azikwe.
So are they wrong to say that the Southeasterner has not been president of the country?
For the fact that they've had ceremonial president in the...
So they are not wrong then?
They are wrong. No, they are wrong. The Southeast have had a fair share of this country. But in this dispensation,
what the group said is that a Southeasterner has not been president of the country, and they don't see anything wrong with that. Are they wrong about that?
Well, I premise on the fact that they are wrong.
How?
The Southeast, just as the Ralph rightly said, yes, being a ceremonial president in the First Republic, under Azikwe, they've had fair share of ruling this country. We know what happened during the Civil War, how it was orchestrated. We know how we find ourselves.
But you know as well as everybody is that they maintain that the Southeasterner has not been president of the country, which you agree with, even though, which is what their premise is.
And I want to correct. Yes, Peter Obi is not the only Southeastern and contesting. We are not against that, and we are not after Peter Obi. He has his own fundamental right. He left PDP for Labour. He had a fair share of last endorsement of...
So why are you worried about this? If it's no big deal, if the candidate of you're supporting has all the pedigree, why are you worried? Just go to town. Whatever they say won't matter. So it shouldn't be any big deal, should it?
We are not even feeling any pulse on us. But what we want to take them on is that as leaders of Yoruba land, there is what is called charity begins at home. We love ourselves.
But it's a democracy. Northern Elders Forum has kicked against the president time and again. Ohanese and Igbo have kicked against Southeast governors time and again. What is wrong if Afenifere says, no, we don't agree with this? What's wrong with that?
Look at the premise of my argument. I didn't say the fact that they went out to endorse Peter Obi. It is within their confines of rights. But the fact that it is laced with conflict, with hatred for our own endorsed candidate.
And I've asked you several times.
They don't need to bring it to the fore.
I've asked you several times, listening to that speech, which Padebanjo said, why they think that the Southeasterners should be given a chance to rule the country. What part of it is laced with hatred?
I want you to replay that same tape. Where it was laced with hatred was the fact that yes, they've given their reason that, well, Southeast have not been given fair share, but coming to the fore to make it known that, oh, it's because of Ashwaju is coming as a consolidation of...
What part of his speech? You've listened to it, you've read it, you've played it at the beginning. What part?
I just reiterate now. When they made mention of the name of Ashwaju that is coming for the fact that they have their own coming out, and does not mean that they are supporting a Southeastern land. To me, you don't need to mention that.
How is that hatred?
No, let me tell you. It is predicated on the premise of their antecedents. We are not saying that because of now.
Can people accuse you, Yoruba Council of Elders, for hating Atiku Abubakar of PDP and hating Labour Party because you support Tinubu?
Because we will not even come out to campaign against
But
them.
you just said it. You just made your position known.
No, we made our position the fact that this is our candidate, and we are focused on our candidate.
So is that hatred of the other candidates?
No. That is
so why is their own now
for
hatred?
the fact that they brought in Asiwaju in the premise of their discourse as a point, as you understand what I'm trying to say. It is mischievous of them to have brought in Asiwaju's campaign presidential interest in their discourse. You can discuss about you and I. You don't need to put me as the premise of your supporting the other candidate. Go straight and support your Southeast. Mobilize the people that are within your membership. We are not members of Afenifere. Afenifere has their own interest. So we also, as the Yoruba Council worldwide, we have the Yoruba Council of you, we have the Yoruba Council of today. We even have the Omoluabi Coalition for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We are giving our total and entire Yoruba land. I can boastfully say that not just Yoruba people. Now, this Asiwaju is not a regional leader. He's a national leader for the fact that the Northerners gave him all the full support. He's even receiving mass support from the Southeast. So we are not seeing this election as a ethnic critical competitive election. It shouldn't be tagged in that manner. The fact that they are making it look more ethnic does not give it.
Are you suggesting that
it is on the merits?
Are you suggesting that Asiwaju's name should not come up in their discussion at all? Is it untouchable?
No. We are not giving them that, yes. But it should be laced with love. It should be laced with understanding. There should be,
It should be laced with love.
Yes.
What is love in this case? By supporting Asiwaju?
No, we don't say that. There's a way you have to go about your campaign without us conflicting. We don't need to sell ourselves in a bad light. That's why we are only correcting the Afenifere. By coming now is to correct them. That, Baba, we know you are elders of our land. We know you have your opinion.
You're correcting them for saying the Southeast needs a chance to be president of this country. Well, you are supporting your candidate. You don't want them to
Southeast to aspire.
But you don't want them to do the same thing that you're doing.
Wait, look at the kind of if you go on social media today, the approach of some of these Southeastern brothers of ours to this election is more or less like somebody is reverberating a war song. It does not, the way they come at your candidate.
How do you mean by that? Everybody, why do you think?
Because they abuse. They flaunt these things as if there is no longer caution, as if there is no law that guides the process.
How do you pin that to them? Because all candidates of all parties, all supporters of all candidates practically do the same thing.
That is why we need to caution ourselves.
So why are you selecting that it's this who abuse?
No, I'm not particular on them. I've given an overview of how situation is being played out now. And what we are trying to caution is that the media has a huge role to play. By having a way to model discourse around, we cannot, after 2023, Nigeria will still be there. Nigeria is our only country.
The media hears.
We need to do all our best to love the country. And I believe strongly, campaigns should be based on issues. What are you coming to do? Is it a restructuring? Is it economy? And these are blueprints Asiwaju has before.
If it's going to be based on issues.
That's why we are still retreating our endorsement for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu Shetima presidential campaign.
Which is the same thing Afenifere has done, which you say is hatred.
It's not. It's different from that.
All right. We'll have to thank you for coming on. Olatunji Hassan, President, Yoruba Council Worldwide. Ayo, back to you.
Well, I'm sure you will have some responses.
My reactions went from the hilarious to the pathetic, and then I almost felt that move to cry. The man that is talking, he even said that at one point that we are all disciples of Awolowo. That is not true. This man does not know anything about Chief Awolowo. And I'll tell you something today. Afenifere has been the only organization, socio-political organization with the highest rate of success in uniting Nigeria. And I'll tell you why. In the First Republic.
If you don't mind, Chief, we don't really have much time, so I want you to... I
need to do this quickly, please. In the First Republic, the AG Afenifere AG, won the election in the southwest. We were the leader of opposition in the east. We had SG Ukoku, who beat his father, Alvani Ikoku, with 56 votes. Action Group in the east. We had 8 members in the Eastern House of Assembly, and then we were the leader of opposition in the east. The same thing in the north, Afenifere. Alhaji Maito. We were the only social-political party as at that time that penetrated every part of the nation. And that is the truth. We were the leader of opposition in the north. We were the leader of opposition in the east. The north didn't have any leadership in any opposition in any of the other zones. Only Afenifere did. And it was because of our egalitarian message. This same message. This man knows nothing about Awolowo. He knows nothing about Afenifere.
Afenifere
I'm coming, please.
not...
I need to say this, and I'm getting emotional. Papa Awolowo supported Ernest Ikoli against Prince Adeleke Adedoyin, his own Yoruba, not only Yoruba, his own Ijebu person, based on the idea and principles of federalism that his own kinsman did not believe in. He believed more and supported Ernest Ikoli. Now, in 1953, when we were being told to come with all that we had to discuss with the British, Afenifere went with members of the Nigerian community, which were called minorities, from the Middle Belt. Joseph Taka was part of the Western region delegation, the people of the Middle Belt. Then Awolowo called them the core region, Calabar, Ogoja, Rivers. He took all of them. They were part of the Western region delegation to London. That is Afenifere for you. We've always been all of that, okay, which of course represents everything about the totality of what Nigeria should stand for. And he's talking about hatred. For who? Hatred between father and son. It was Papa Adebanjo who made this same Asiwaju governor. It will have pleased Papa Adebanjo to even make him president. But this is not about a Yoruba man. It's about equity. It's about looking for what is right for Nigeria. The Southeast have not had this opportunity. And we are going to deny them based on what? He's the one that is sowing all that is wrong about disunity.
Perhaps this conversation should also go to political parties themselves. I mean, let everyone, just as you said, maybe if everyone begins to listen to Afenifere, all the parties would select from that one region, and then we'll have just no other option. We're completely out of time. We have to thank you very much for being a part of our conversation.
Oh,
most certainly.
Honestly,
you will.
I need to throw this.
I'm sincerely sorry.
Papa Adebanjo visited Asiwaju when Asiwaju came back from the UK when he was ill. He went with the leaders of Afenifere, with the deputy leader. He went with Chief Shonibari and the rest of them. And I was in the house of Papa Adebanjo the last time Asiwaju came. So why would somebody be talking of hatred? Well, must it be about this kind of thing that we must be hearing?
As I said,
as we move
it's
Nigeria
a conversation
forward?
that has just begun. We'll most certainly continue it. We have to thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you.
Boyega Dijimo is a member of the National Caucus and Executive Committee of Afenifere. Thank you so much again.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. We'll take a short break and we'll return as we march forward towards 2023 elections. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Well, yes, as you've seen, the Professor Rufai Alkali joins us next. He is the chairman of NNPP. Good morning, Prof. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, Chamberlain.
Well, many are looking forward to, of course, when the campaigns will kick off, see how things will turn out. But lately, NNPP has been quiet. Well, what's going on?
No, we have not been quiet.
Oh,
I'm surprised.
okay.
Maybe you are moving channels.
Well, maybe I've not been keeping my ears close to the ground enough.
No, NNPP is working hard. We are planning, doing a lot of work.
But NNPP has had some hiccups, if we could describe it as such. How is the party going to cope or coping with that? Because having lost Malam Shekarau, he's a significant member of the party. So how is the party moving on from there?
No, I think we have passed on. We have moved on. In the case of Ibrahim Shekarau, we gave him the opportunity to become a senator on our platform. And at some point, he decided to opt out. So already we are working on something else. And remember that you can lose one and gain 10. So far, what we know is that virtually all the people he came with to NPP together, they have not joined him. They left alone. So I think we are good to go.
He left alone?
Yes.
He didn't say he left alone. He kept on saying that his supporters, his followers.
That is what he said, but that is, the facts on the ground are different.
So you're telling us authoritatively that he left alone?
Yes.
All his supporters are still in the NNPP?
Yes, that's the truth. Yes.
So when you say you lose one...
There is something even that happened recently when I went to Kano, was it about 2 days ago? His in-law, who is married to his daughter, also came, he came to NNPP.
Still with... Did he join NNPP, yes, or he's still in there?
He joined NNPP.
When did he join with Madam Shekarau?
Yes, thereabouts.
So he didn't leave?
No, no, sir. You see, we have given Ibrahim Shekarau his respect, his due respect. Since he left, I have resisted the temptation to say anything bad against him. It's no use, because we are decent people. NNPP is a decent political party. We say we are not going to engage unless we are pushed too much. Otherwise, there is no need. Politics is about choice, and he has made his own choices. But I know that those choices are not the best for him, because he's highly respected in Kano. But he should have stayed on and fought the Nigerian project now. But he opted out for his own reasons. So I think we as a party, we refuse to engage him. We want to maintain the decency with which we are on for.
So what was the bone of contention? Because from his perspective, I mean, you heard what he said largely as to how there was no agreement. You didn't
Again, I think it's a question of interest. So that's why I said the party does not want to go into all these unnecessary altercations and debate and argument with him. It's a question of choice. You can't force somebody to be in a political party. He made his choice to leave APC before and came to us, and he decided to leave the NNPP and go to another party. Fine with us, but since then we have also been gaining ground nationwide.
But how is his movement to his leaving to the PDP? How is it a bad choice for him?
Honestly, I think if you understand where we are, and the last time I came here, I didn't mention to you that almost 2 years back, we sat down in a group, we look at Nigeria, we look at the political party, and we review them, analyze all of them, and we concluded that as preparation for 2023 comes, general election, most of these political parties, especially the two majors at that time, are going to collapse, are going to find sufficient difficulties that they will put their house in order, to face the elections. Now look at what is happening. So how will you leave a party that is stable, organized, highly focused, into a party that you find already members there are fighting each other deadly?
Yeah, but when you say the two parties will collapse, are they still going to, do you still think they will collapse?
Well, I don't know. Maybe when I say collapse, I think maybe people are thinking collapse like a building collapsing on top of everybody. No. But what is happening? Is it how this party started? Is it how they started?
Yeah, but
that's 22 years ago.
But probably you're a veteran in this. You've been there. You've seen different political parties have terrible issues that the whole country, or those who are looking for, but this they will collapse.
They were managed.
But they survived it.
They were managed. There is what is happening. What is happening now in PDP is almost akin to what happened in 2013, when some governors during the National Convention decided to just walk out of the National Convention, and since then, the PD had a lot of difficulty as we were facing 2015 elections. Now, this is what is all happening. Leading governors who have been also sacrificing for the party, working for the party, both those that serving governors and former governors are all moving out of the PDP. And these are the faces we are seeing outside. You don't know those are behind them.
But as it is now with NNPP and their position or strength in Kano State, Hasn't that been whittled down with the
Not at
movement
all.
of Madam Shekarau?
Maybe people understand the what do you call the concourse of phenomena in Nigeria, not only in Kano. This is a man who has built a career of helping people for a long time. Everywhere you go, you see his footprints. He is also on principle. You know, he takes hard decision, difficult decision. When he realizes a journey is not working very well, he moves on. However difficult it is, he takes the leadership. And that's how we were able to evolve from forming the national movement. And then we do the mother with the NNPP. Last year, about this time, nobody would have given a chance that we'll be talking here about NNPP. But today we are here. We have everything on the ground. We have our people moving around. And maybe that's why I'm surprised you said that we have been quiet, because if you have been following what we call this, the movement he has been doing around the country over the past 30 to 40 days, Nigeria has changed, the country has changed. And we do it quietly and systematically, not making noise.
But I thought that some of these things too, the people need to see why they should pitch their tents with NNPP. So if it's quietly, how do the people see
When
it?
we say quietly, does not mean that we are not there on the ground. Maybe if you see virtually all the cities, all the states that our presidential candidate, Senator Rabi Musa Konkoso, visited, you find unprecedented reception. Large crowd coming from nowhere. People ordinarily who have not come out to receive a guest, they come out and say it's for Konkoso or it's for NNPP. And the last place he went was Katsina, about just 2 days ago. I hope you see the picture on Katsina. So that is not silent talk. But we are saying that since a campaign has not started, it's silent. That's the way I'm putting it.
So what is the, because at the moment, Madam Shekarau's name is still on the senatorial ticket for the NNPP. Isn't that right?
It is very odd. But you know, sometimes laws are made for men. I mean, it's not men made for laws. I think there must have been some lacuna in the Electoral Act. But only before the final day of submission, the principle is that anybody who dies or voluntarily withdraws for contest, then he can be substituted. And that was the principle we know. But after his name was submitted to the INEC, and he withdrew, and most of us felt it was like intended to hurt the party.
His withdrawal?
Yes, it was intended to hurt the party, because otherwise, why should he withdraw after the gate has been closed? Well, in any case, we took it easy, and then we approached the INEC and told them that, well, this man has withdrawn. He even wrote a formal letter to INEC and said that he has withdrawn, and informed them. And they also wrote a letter to us withdrawing his candidature, and they also withdrawn his membership of the NNPP. Obviously, you cannot force somebody to be a member of the party. You cannot force him to just stand for election under our platform. So we communicated to INEC, and they say, no, that only death that can now compel them to remove his name. We say, no. So we are still exploring all options to make sure that the Kano centrality is not lost to us.
Is that eventually going to include the party going to court to ensure that the provisions are complied with?
If it's a legitimate option, because even INEC knows that if, for example, their hands are tied down and they cannot do anything, then the option is only court.
So wait, you're saying that INEC says, because I mean the Electoral Act is clear on some of these procedures. If they withdraw, you're supposed to have notified them and follow through all the processes. So you're saying that INEC's position at the moment is that nope, only death can warrant.
That's what we found, because since if in the process for these primaries, you do say, and the law says that it's either voluntary withdrawal or death, then it means the same principle should apply if somebody withdraws after.
So does INEC disagree with that?
Well, so far, I think that's the impression we are getting at the party, because we have been corresponding, and I don't want to just talk about this on the press. It's not fair. It's people who are doing their work. And like I said, if they are also, their hands are tied by law, by the Electoral Act, so be it. But as long, I know that ultimately the party will not allow the seat to be left vacant. Or during election, then you find Senator Ibrahim Shekarau still appear as a candidate of a party, it will look very odd. It's an embarrassment even for the INEC. So I believe there must be a lacuna if that is the issue that is from the law, that only the person dies. But if somebody leaves the party, what is it to him? Us? It's already lost to us.
All right, let me bring
and it's not only that case.
Yeah.
We also have a similar case in Taraba. We also have a similar case in Yobe, where a deputy governor also resigned at the last minute and then joined another political party. So we have to replace them. There's no way a governor can run with one leg. So I think that is, I know INEC are doing a lot of work, but I think the law also, National Assembly have to review it very much.
So wait, is INEC maintaining the same stance on all those other situations, both the Taraba and the other cases?
Yes. Taraba, and then the deputy governor in Yobe. Right now, there's no way our candidate, government candidate in Yobe will just go around as individual alone. So alone,
yeah, because the law says you have to have a deputy to validate your position.
We are talking to INEC, and we are exploring all options. I think that's the best way to go about it, not to be talking too much to the media.
Okay, let me bring in my colleague in Lagos. He's got questions for you.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. Well, Prof, one of the provisions of the Electoral Act, is that's attributed to the head of the legal department in INEC in Kano State. When he was taking up on this issue that we're discussing with you, he says, and I quote, "The new electoral law said once your name was initially displayed before displaying the final list, a candidate will write INEC officially, attach his photos, notifying the INEC of withdrawal from the contest." Mr. Shekarau did not do any of the above. So in this regard, I'm wondering if it was something that the NNPP also saw validity in discussing with him so that this angle of the provisions of the law were also met.
I read this yesterday in the newspaper that the state rec in Kano mentioned something like this, that Senator Ibrahim Shekarau did not write, and he did not indicate to them that he was resigned. But I am surprised because he is talking from Kano, but the secretary of the party is talking to INEC headquarters, not talking to rec in Kano. And we have the letter from Senator Ibrahim Shekarau, which we first sent through our state chairman in Kano, and then we also got it. And then he also personally also wrote to INEC. Apart from that, he also spoke to the press that he did take these steps. So I was even surprised that the rec in Kano will say something different. So the fact of the matter is that we have written to INEC, and we have told them our position, and we told them our intention to replace the candidature in Kano. We cannot leave it vacant.
Okay. Well, in the event, I mean, going back to the question that my colleague asked you, I mean, that we went to court, NNPP goes to court, and the court says, look, it's past time and all of that before the amendment, because clearly the law can't be amended before the 2023 elections. Should the candidate of the NNPC be declared to have won and it carries the name of Senator Ibrahim Shekarau, what happens?
Well, he cannot claim it legitimately because he has already abandoned it even before the elections. So definitely he cannot now reap from where he has not sown.
Okay, but, there are also questions around, the issues that you also raised, that the same thing is happening in other parts of the country, that people who have already become candidates or substantiated in INEC's records and just suddenly leaving. Is there anything you can trace to why these things are happening as the chairman of the party?
For example, in the case of, I wanted to mention the one of Taraba is also another friend of ours, Senator Joel. He also got the seat and then later on left and now joined Labour Party. And then he's now a candidate of Labour Party as a government candidate in Taraba State. And it's very odd. And now already in the list that was released by INEC, he still appeared as our central candidate in Taraba State. So what we are saying here is that, again, we cannot force Joel to be a central candidate in Taraba State. We have to be replaced. So wherever the problem lies, We are following diligently because we also have lawyers working with them. We also have the electoral law with us. So we are fairly informed. The point is that we follow it to this logical conclusion. And this is not a fight, you know, an open fight in the press. No, no, no. I don't want to engage in media or with anybody at all. No.
Well, Prof, the question that I'm asking is, why do you think it is happening? People who have been so invested in the party, such that the party infrastructure says, you will be our candidate. They get the tickets of the party, and then they leave the party. While there are other parties where they don't have the ticket of the party, and they are fighting tooth and nail to get it. Meanwhile, in the NNPP, they have the tickets, and then they still abscond. So the question is, why, in your opinion, would this be happening?
I think this question can only be asked those people who left the party, not for us, because we don't know what they are thinking behind that. But what I know is that if somebody is given a senatorial seat and then he wants to leave it and go for something, then the question is why? He is the one to answer the question, not us. For us, as far as we're concerned, yes, he has taken his decision. And remember, like I said, after he left, after Joel left, many other people stayed on and came back to the party, and more are coming to join us. Very soon you'll hear big stories coming out. So we are not weeping over this now. We are past that level.
Well, Prof, doesn't that in any way suggest to you, and because there are those who will be wondering, if this is happening in the NNPP, when people have the tickets and they leave, then maybe it's not a party for me. Maybe there are some things happening within the party that the party is not letting anyone know.
You see, the trouble is that you're only looking at only a small part of the story. What is happening in other political parties today? The so-called leading political parties, what is happening to them? They are there. Some of them are serving governors, but they have refused to be part of the campaign organization of their presidential candidate. They have refused to be part of anything. And they are not keeping quiet. They are shouting. They are even challenging the party, if you like, suspend me if you like, or remove me from the party. And therefore, a sufficient problem there. We don't have that kind of problem in our party. So if one person or two people leave, it strengthens our base, because it's better for them to leave early enough than to leave at a time when we expect we are planning for presidential election, and then they leave that. By that time, it will be worse. So I think it's better now.
But the question then is, I mean, in these other parties that you're talking about, we don't have candidates who have already become candidates, leave the party to go elsewhere.
Candidates leaving, but you have serving governors who are fighting inside, deadly. And that is it better? Is it not better for someone to leave and leave you alone than to be fighting inside the party with you? Or revealing top secrets, discussions that have been held just recently. That is the worst way to run a party.
Okay, so in your opinion now, for those who are still members of the party, what would you be telling them? Because there may be those who have left, maybe like precedents to those who return, who are still within the system of the party. What would you want to tell those who may be contemplating, after getting the tickets of the party as candidates, to leave? What would you want to tell them?
Well, I think our focus, mainly one, is that by right, the party must have representation in all these states. Now, where our own candidates who have been screened and, went through the primaries, and then whose name were legitimately submitted to INEC and they refused to continue with the process, like I said, we are exploring every method, every way, every channel to ensure that we don't lose. I'm repeating this for the second time. What is important, like I said to Chamberlain, that we don't want to sit down and then continue agonizing because one person or two people have left the party. I say thousands are coming into the party daily. And you will see it very soon. And you'll be surprised, you'll be shocked. Because the NNPP is a serious party. It's a party that offers hope to this country today. In fact, because we anticipated that these parties are going into various series of crises, some of them are manageable, that we didn't even want to be there. Senator Rabi Musa Konkoso was a member of the PDP, a strong member, a pillar of the party. He was a member of the BOT, but he left the party for NNPP. There must be something he saw coming.
So wait, is he not going to be working for the PDP, presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar?
Who?
Alhaji Rabi Kwankwaso?
Work for who?
Work for the PDP.
How?
Because there's word out there that eventually he will go ahead and strengthen the PDP itself.
Who will work for who? I can't understand. You know, the question sometimes is highly sophisticated. Can you break it into simple way?
There's nothing sophisticated about that. Yeah. Are you telling us now that Alhaji Rabi Kwankwaso will not be working for the PDP at the end of the day?
So you mean that we will collapse our party and then start shopping for another presidential candidate? You think it's possible now?
Well, we did ask at the same time, too, if Madam Shekarau was going to stay with NNPP when he moved from APC to NNPP. And they said, yes, that was the case. But today we know what has happened. So it's not out of place to ask again this kind of questions.
But you have to look at the, that way you're talking about individually. Yeah, you're talking about a political party with a presidential candidate with a...
No, I'm talking about the individual.
Yeah? Sorry?
The presidential candidate of NNPP.
Yes, he is now, but he is a property of the party, and then he has a running mate. And then the party is for him. He is the national leader of the party. And then we also have a governorship candidate nationwide. We have senators nationwide. We have a House of Representatives, House of Assembly, a full complement of all elements for the election of 2023. Then suddenly we take this and put it in another basket. Is that correct?
So he is not going to work for the PDP in any category at any point for these general elections?
I think for now our attention is focused on 2023 elections.
In what capacity? Contesting that election, presidential, and then across the board?
Of course. And you know, you see, there's something we realize. That suddenly, first they said that NNPP it was nothing. Kwankwaso, they took him for granted because he was in the party. If they needed him to serve their purpose, they shouldn't have allowed him to leave the party in the first place. They were here in this country when we were trying to form the national movement. They were watching us. They knew that something would happen, but nobody said, look, don't allow this thing to go this far. They allowed it to go this far. We went to national movement. We went to NNPP. We developed the party to a standard higher than all the other political parties by this time. All the parties did not develop this strength within a period of 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. So now, having gotten everything ready for election, now the fear is gripping people. Now they are saying that, no, I think he is going to give to APC, go to PDP, go to X. Everything is being said. Who is afraid of Kwankwaso? There must be somebody who's afraid of him. Why can't he stand on his own and fight this election and win this election? What is different? What are the others going to offer better than him? Remember, sir, when the last time I came here, we said the very reason why we formed the national movement and subsequently merged with the NNPP was for two things, mainly, to rescue our country and to save democracy. And we said that the state of the nation, economically, security-wise, everything has reason to raise concern for us now and the future. And we should not sit down in our homes and begin to cry and complain. We should do something about it. And that's how we come up with this national movement. Now, as of last year, by this time, we didn't even launch the national movement. Now we did. We didn't do the merger. We did. We did not build the party. We did. Now, everything has done. It's very unusual, unprecedented to build a party with a short period like we have done. So why can't they leave us alone? Let them join us. Those who want to join us, let them join us also.
Has the presidential candidate of the PDP reached out to Madam Rabi Shekarau? Sorry, Madam Rabi Kwankwaso.
I think I will investigate what is happening between Rabi and Ibrahim Shekarau. Well, he has already appointed Ibrahim Shekarau as one of his advisors. So I think that.
Yeah, but has he reached out to Rabi Kwankwaso?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know.
You're the chairman of the party. You should know.
You say reaching out. Now, you didn't say reaching the party. You say reaching the presidential candidate. Oh, a presidential candidate can also reach a presidential candidate. Is normal.
No, I mean reaching out with the view to getting him on his side, on the PDP side, to work with the PDP.
Why can't we call...
No, that's a different matter. But has he reached out to him?
Why can't... Well, I said, I don't know what he has done.
Okay, so has they reached out to the party through you?
Well, maybe they were taking their time. They will do that. By that time, we have already won the elections, I believe.
So do you have any communication from the party, the PDP, to NNPP to work together?
No, not that I know.
What about the APC?
Not that I know.
Is the NNPP presidential candidate going to campaign in different parts of this country?
Of course, absolutely. Already he has started. For example, like, you know, there are virtually most of the states now, at least over 60% or 70% has visited them. And these are not campaign period, but to visit people, to commiserate with families and communities who have lost one thing or the other, and to re-establish contact, to open offices. And so that I think the idea he came up with, or we came up with, was to make sure that you don't wait until during campaign you go to a community and ask for vote. They will say, why are you all these years? So that's why this concept came up. And it was very good. And he has been visiting most of the states of the Federation, and he continues before we finally launch our campaign.
So he will definitely be on the ballot. So
yes, sir. Inshallah.
What is the beyond? I mean, you've heard this several times. In terms of your analogy, I know the NNPP always says that they're looking strategically. They're looking at the numbers to see where the strength and your weaknesses lie. So what gives you the confidence now, because things change over time? What is it that you see now that gives the party the confidence that they will clinch the presidential victory?
Well, one is the level of acceptance of the party. First and foremost, even before we came to this point, we didn't start this project with this procrastination, with doubts in our mind, with, we were not sure what we were doing. We knew what we were doing. We anticipated all these issues that we are facing today. And like we said, there was time Nigerians felt that there was not going to be any alternative to what you have on the ground. And we felt that there must be an alternative. Nigerians must be given an option, a substitute to what is happening. Tell me, with all the things that is going on the ground, now, ordinarily, during campaign, people will say, okay, tell us what you are going to do for us in the coming elections. But the question Nigeria are going to ask this time around now is not what you are going to do for us. First and foremost, they ask, what have you done before?
Yeah.
They will know what you have done or what you are doing before they can even ask what you are going to do ahead.
Which they need to look at people's pedigree. What are they bringing to the table? So that's in order. But as we wind down now, you tease the media. You know the media loves big story. You said there's a big story that is going to happen within the NNPP.
Yes.
What can that be?
We'll let you know shortly, because we are working behind the scenes. There are many Nigerians who are willing and ready to come to our party, and they will change the dynamics completely.
So are they going to be in the mold of what? A former governor, a current governor, or a former president?
You will be among the first to hear when the time comes.
No, not naming the person, but in the category of this big story.
That one
what is it likely to be?
We are going to keep that to our chest for now.
No, not naming the names, but the category of persons that are coming in.
As a politician, we cannot do that. We cannot.
So how do we know it's big story, Prof? Then, if
you are looking for a leakage from me, and you won't get it, somebody.
Well, Professor Rufai Kali is the National Chairman of NNPP. Thank you for coming, and I wish your party all the best. All right, so let's quickly take some messages before we go. Some feedback coming through from you out there. This first tweet is from Oshino Kingsley, who says, Afenifere has done the most honorable and equitable thing. How do we continue to canvass for one Nigeria, and yet a race is purposefully being kept away from becoming the president? I'm proud to be associated with Afenifere, even at the expense of nepotism.
David Alao's mail is next. Says there is nothing wrong in Saudis producing the next president of Nigeria, but political offices are contested for and not bestowed on regions. Where were the Afeniferes when the Saudis governors and PDP declared their support for northern candidates? Charity must begin at home. Consolidating democracy shouldn't be purely on ethnic or regional consideration.
Well, Dr. Peter speaks about neglect of Nigerian veterans. He says, it's so unfortunate that despite all the sacrifices that these veterans had taken to keep each and every one of us secured, they are being deprived of their monthly pension and other emoluments. More worrisome is the fact that the story remains same even when some retired military personnel occupy positions that could be of help to these veterans, such as the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and Minister of Defense. Well, there you go. We appreciate your messages. We hope you keep them coming through, but we'll also be keeping our ears close to the ground such that we could get more concerning what's going on. What is the latest concerning those who are protesting about their emoluments, as it were. Well, that is the show today. We thank you all very much indeed for watching today. We'll see you again here tomorrow. Until then, I am Chamberlain, so have a very good one.
And just to quickly mention that the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway is still heavily besieged with that traffic. We hope the authorities are aware and are doing the most they can. I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful rest of your day.